Hey guys, welcome to Man Chat. I'm one of your hosts, Ben. I host this podcast with two of my closest friends. Up first is 5'3 3/4, John.
Listen, Ben's an idiot. In spite of that, you're still gonna love the show. So go ahead and hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons.
All right, that was a little rude. Danny, what you got to say?
Hey, do me a favor. Don't refer to me as your friend. Hit the intro.
Yo, what are you doing right now?
The big V. Look, man.
All right, man, let's just jump right into this shit.
I made my wife wake up and drive me there anyway.
¿Es
a major?
Pues con eso.
Pues con español. ¿Qué pasó, papá? ¿Cómo estás? Any questions?
Now, when you bought that sweater, right? You just go, fuck it. I'm going full Mr. Rogers. You've tuned into the Man Chatter podcast. You'd be surprised, bro. Hey, man, we back at it again. Crazy ass weekend, crazy ass day. Let's just jump right into the shit, bro. Like, let's just get right into it. Nothing. Cincinnati versus Kansas.
Got you.
Yeah, Cincinnati versus Kansas City. What y'all think about the game, man? John, you had a little foreshadowing, unlike your Tannehill foreshadowing. You said, "Hey, man, I think this Patrick Mahomes bad timeout call is going to come back to cost him in a way," and he was never right after that.
He wasn't. I mean, their field goal at the end of regulation could have been the game winner instead of the one that sent it to overtime. But it was two bad decisions at the end of both halves.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the camera panned to him, he was trying to call a timeout. So he wasn't aware that they had lost a timeout early in the first quarter. And I mean, that was almost like Dak Prescott, like where you have 5 seconds left.
Mm-hmm.
You have 5 seconds left, and then you throw it out to the boundary. I mean, if he doesn't get in, 5 seconds is not much time. He didn't have time to call a timeout, even if he did have it. I think they were out of time. And then at the end of regulation, his scrambles are a double-edged sword, is what I said in our WhatsApp in our chat group, because sometimes he makes incredible things happen. And sometimes you take a 17-yard loss and take yourself out of a possible touchdown attempt. That I don't know why. I mean, sometimes it's just throw the ball away. That's one thing that I've seen Burrow do, or at least I saw him do last week. He consistently just threw the ball away. He wasn't going to be able to squeeze the ball in there, make something happen. You can only extend the play for so long, right?
Yep.
And I think this was just. It reminded me of what Kansas City was the first half of this season, or the first 7 games, where you weren't sure if they're going to make the playoffs or not. They were up and down, and it was a tale of two halves. Right? They were completely inconsistent. They were one team one half, and they were a completely different team the second half. I mean, not to take credit away from the Bengals defense, but it was just poor execution on their end, I think.
Yeah.
I felt like Burrow was trying to throw the game away at the end, though. He threw a pick in the fourth quarter. He almost threw a second one. You said it hit the ground. I didn't get to watch the replay. But, I mean, I know he's going to be the hero after this, but I really felt like he was trying to throw that game away.
Yeah, it was
the one that got him into field goal position at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird one, man. It was sloppy. Kansas City, as great as they looked in that first half, looked the complete opposite in that second. Like they couldn't get their shit together. They just looked sloppy and tired, and just it wasn't. I don't remember. I didn't see Tyreek Hill get a catch in the second half. It was all Kelsey. They couldn't really move the ball. I think they had like 7 drives or something. Like I think the stat they showed on CBS was like the last 7 plays prior to getting that field goal drive was like -7 yards. So they couldn't get anything going. Cincinnati stepped up, and look, I'm not gonna toot my own horn for this shit, because I literally said both things last week. I was like, oh, Kansas City can really do it. But I was like, but that's Cincinnati. That Joe Burrow might be some. So like I hedged the fuck out of my bet. I hedged like a motherfucker. So I'm not claiming anything with that one. But I did not, like, when it was 21-3, I was like, fuck it, I'll go back and watch the rest of this terrible ass US Canada game. And it was just like, then when I came back,
I watched the USA game.
Yeah. Which I don't even want to talk about, because I was just a story time will drop right here, and I'll just go off on Greg Berhalter for like the next 45 minutes, and it's exhausting. But yeah,
you already did, right? You went off on him on Twitter.
Yeah, no, he's terrible. Like I can't like look, man, fuck him. I'm not gonna do it.
No,
But
don't.
I'm not gonna do it. No, you're not gonna make me go down that hole, John. But look, as great as Patrick Mahomes was, those scrambles were too long, man. He could have just thrown the ball away both times instead of try to get to fight for every yard when it wasn't necessary. Throws that ball away. He still has it at what? Like I think they had it at the 6
Mhm.
before those 2 losses. Like that's what I mean. That's a third or fourth play that you get a chance at Kelsey being a busted play in the middle and he catches it. And now you're at the 35 or whatever the fuck, and the game totally changes. I think that's what
And
you get with Pat.
he almost fumbled the game away right there for the kick. That would have been crazy if the Bengals would have recovered that kick. I mean that fumble.
Yeah,
that would have one hell of a way to end.
I
Yeah, that
mean,
would've been
he
great.
fumbled. He fumbled when that 17-yard loss. I believe the ball
Yeah,
got
right.
stripped from him, and one of his linemen recovered it.
Mhm,
So
Right,
they
exactly.
were lucky
Imagine
to
the
just
game
get
would have
into
ended that way.
overtime.
Now, who here doubted that KC was going to win once they won that coin toss? I thought that they had the game in the bag.
The fans
Yeah, that
did.
they were-
You saw how loud they cheered.
Yeah.
I
thought-
was like 2 weeks in a row. I was like, this is going to happen 2 weeks in a row, and for sure this offseason they're going to change that rule. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. It would have been legendary, right? Like he does that 2 weeks in a row to go to the Super Bowl. Like we're talking like we're putting Pat Mahomes in that top 5 conversation, right? Like, this guy just did this shit back-to-back weeks, struggled the second half, still find the way to put the quote-unquote team on his back, even though he's the one that put the team in this situation. You know what I mean? Like, but now Joe Burrow is gonna get talked about like as either guy, first quarterback ever in his second year to take his team after being the number 1 pick to take his team to the Super Bowl.
After being the number 1 pick, which is weird because you figure, well, I mean, if you're the number 1 pick, that means your team usually sucks. So I guess that makes sense. Because I know Marino did it.
Mm-hmm.
Brady did it. Roethlisberger did it. I don't think anybody else on top of my head. But yeah, so
but they were all like
first of right, 10th pick, 6th round.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah,
just
true.
it was crazy.
It's
Go ahead.
the real Joe Cool. I know you're a Jets fan over there.
Who, Joe Namath? Joe Namath is the most overrated athlete in the history of sports.
I'm glad you said so.
I love him because he brought the team to only Super Bowl, but literally, he threw more interceptions than touchdowns. Did you know that?
Yeah, I know.
Did you know he didn't throw a pass in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl game that he won? Like,
I didn't know that, but I'm not surprised either.
I didn't know that.
But
he won
hey,
MVP
he wore
for that game, but only because of it.
He wore a mink coat and he said we're gonna win the Super Bowl. So that's it.
That's
now
all you got to do.
Joe Cool.
That's it. Bart Scott
Broadway Joe.
got can't wait. Bart Scott got can't wait. I mean, you gotta hit those moments when they happen, man. You know what I mean?
I realize that he's overrated, but yeah, as a Jets fan, I cherish him anyway.
Yeah, as you should. But hey, man, Joe Burrow does
This
it.
is all we got as a Jets fan. That's all we got. The guarantee. That's it.
The guarantee.
That's all
all you got. Yeah.
What year was that?
50 years
How long
ago.
was that?
69.
Jesus.
That was 53 years ago.
Jesus. Good God, man. That's so long ago, dude.
Yes, sir.
So we don't know as of time of recording, the NFC Championship is going on, and I think it was like at halftime it was like 10-7. So we don't know who the Bengals are going to be facing, but kind of can't count out the Bengals, right? Like they find a way to win every game. What was it wild card against the Raiders? Beat the number 1 seed, beat the number 2 seed in the AFC, and now you go to the Super Bowl. That's pretty crazy, man. I mean, I'm going to be rooting for the Bengals in the Super Bowl. I'll say it right now because I could care less about other team and maybe the Matt Stafford thing, but like if it's Jimmy G
I'd like
and he
to see
wins
Matt
again with
Stafford
like
win it.
I would too.
If it's Jimmy G, we're all out on that one, right? Like because he'll throw for like 112 yards, have like 7 completions.
If the Niners win the
47% completion
championship
percentage.
somehow, I'll be shocked because I at no point during the season that I ever considered them as a possibility of winning the championship.
No,
I didn't realize how
no.
good that defense was.
I had no idea. I mean, they rebuilt themselves, man, from last year they had a down year. Year before they won the
Because
Super
Joe
Bowl.
Burrow got injured.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
Jimmy G
he's
got
on the
injured.
Niners. My fault. Yeah, Jimmy G.
Yeah, Jimmy G got injured. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Which
kinda
is
weird.
incredible, by the way. The fact that the Niners are doing it with hiding Jimmy G, right? and playing great defense, because over the years, the NFL has gone towards protecting the offense so that the offensive play could be smoother and pretty much just not allowing the defense to do much. Like I remember watching Steve Atwater drill people coming down the middle of the
Denver.
field. Monster. I used to
Devastating.
love the big, like that's the I've told Ben time and again, hey, these guys are gladiators. They want to take steroids, let them take steroids. They want to go out.
Yeah.
They know what they're putting their lives on the line. So I want to see that. I'm not gonna go do that, but I want to watch it. You want to be a gladiator? I'm gonna go to the arena and watch you. Are you not entertained?
Rodney Harrison used to go knock people's heads off.
Yeah.
Ronnie, before, a little bit before our time, Ronnie Lott was doing his thing. Yeah. I mean, you had
Ronnie
Ed
Harrison
Reed, Troy
was the first one that I
Polamalu.
really watched. Yeah, but they didn't knock
Ed
people's
Reed
heads
was
off,
a ball hawk.
although they were sick.
Yeah,
I think those are the greatest safeties of all time, and they played at the same time, the same division.
Yeah, I've played each other twice a year, every year. It was incredible.
But Polamalu got exposed a little bit because he was more of a he was a hard hitter, but he wasn't the coverage type of safety that Ed Reed was. Ed Reed was a special talent.
But his timing at the line of scrimmage, see some of those tackle losses.
Yeah,
he would like jump over the line, and it was fun.
Yeah,
it was fun to watch.
He was fun to watch because that timing, those blitzes were, and that was his specialty. He wasn't the best coverage safety. A Pittsburgh fan might disagree with me, but Ed Reed was a different level.
Ed Reed was a man. Yeah, I love Ed Reed.
Yeah, but he's number one, right? Like, I mean,
in my opinion, we might be biased.
Yeah. We're talking AFC North because we got an AFC North team going into the Super Bowl, which we did not expect it would be. Out of all the AFC North teams, we would not expect it would be the Cincinnati Bengals to be going to the Super Bowl.
The Bengals it gives me hope. The Bengals hadn't won a playoff game in like 31 years. They were a running joke forever. I'll get them in the Super Bowl now. I got hope as a Jets fan. Teams actually turn it around eventually.
Yeah, but let's think about.
Be realistic.
Let's keep it a buck, right? Like that. Not just that it's the Jets. This is the first team in history to have the number one pick and do this. If you're picking high every year, you 9 times out of 10 don't do this.
Well, for the record, the Jets didn't pick one first. Zach Wilson went number 2. So.
Oh, okay. My bad. Sorry. Sorry.
Okay. I guess there is hope. Look at that.
Maybe there's hope.
Maybe there is. But how many games?
Can't tell me otherwise.
Well, Bengals won 4 games last year. Won 11 or 12 this year. And
I don't know. I won 4 last year and 2 the year before that.
Yeah, and now they're in the Super Bowl.
I don't care about it. I don't care about any of that. You know what I care about?
2 the previous year, 4 last year. So we're going to the Super Bowl next year.
Sure. Hey, yeah. If you say so, whatever gets you through the day. You might go to the Super Bowl. I mean,
what's up there? Yeah, we're not.
If you were gonna go to the Super Bowl, it would have happened a couple of years ago, right? Brady left the conference, so you would have made it to the Super Bowl when he left.
Well, we had a chance 2 years in a row back in 2010 and 2011.
Yeah, with Mark Sanchez, the great Mark Sanchez leading your quarterback. Yeah, Sanchez. Speaking of Brady, since I mentioned him.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that he's gone. Isn't he a sore loser? Sore loser to retire like that. He doesn't win. He gets beat, so he's just gonna throw a tantrum and retire. Fucking sore loser that guy is.
How long were you waiting on that one?
22 years.
I honestly thought that if he won, there was more of a chance of him retiring. Because he lost, I have a feeling that he wants to come back. I have a feeling he wants to go out on top.
I thought when I saw those headlines, I thought they were a joke, kind of like the headlines when these fake news stories about artists or celebrities dying, and then they get up on Twitter and they're like, "No,
but it was Adam Schefter. Alive." That's why I believed it.
Well, I saw it first from somewhere else. It wasn't from ESPN. It was from somewhere else, and I was like, "What? No, this can't be true." And then I kept looking on Twitter and everywhere else, and it was headline after headline about Brady retiring. So we'll see. We'll see if it's true.
Well, then,
is he the greatest athlete of all time?
No, dude.
Maybe quarterback. I have a weird thing with athletes.
He's the least athletic quarterback of all time. So
he's the greatest quarterback of all time, not the greatest athlete. because it's weird, but it's weird though, right? Like it depends. Like how do we define athlete? Like because if we go athlete at quarterback, Michael Vick, right?
Championships.
But
Well, I
if
mean
he's championships,
athlete, but like
no,
professional athlete, like in all the team sports, who's the greatest? Like who dominated the most? Jordan basketball, right?
yeah, Brady football.
Brady football.
Hmm.
Baseball, I can't think of just one. Barry Bonds, I guess, but he never even won a World Series.
Exactly. I mean, you
So
know what though? Like, let me get my Brady hate off for a second. I do like I had this conversation. We've had this conversation before. I had this conversation. I think he is the greatest athlete because he did it in the hardest sport, being so impaired physically. You know what I mean? Athletically, in a way. Like he had the mental toughness and had all that drive. So yeah, I'll put Brady number one, like
Impaired.
greatest athlete.
Jesus Christ,
physically.
like the guy's
Yeah, no,
handicapped.
you've seen him run, right? You telling me
He's the
that?
Dan Marino. He's the equivalent. Marino couldn't do much either.
Yeah, but Marino didn't have seven world titles.
Yeah, but I want to say he's
he
impaired.
doesn't have any.
He is the prototypical quarterback. He's what 20, 30 years ago and before. That's what a quarterback would be. Now we have a different view of what a quarterback can do. But he's the prototypical quarterback of 20 years ago, which is
but he beat.
stand in the pocket, go through your progressions, throw the ball, throw it away, make the right decision.
But he did
But
it
he
better than
beat
those
people
other
in the old.
prototypes. Yeah,
He beat people in the old generation and the new generation. He
But
beat
what I'm
Patrick
saying, I
Mahomes
wouldn't
in
call
Super
him
Bowl.
impaired. As much as I hate to say it, like I wouldn't call him impaired. I
mean,
don't like the guy.
I don't mean like mentally, bro. Like I'm saying like physically. Like he didn't have the physical tools other athletes on that field had. That's all I'm saying. But he had other tools that those other like he had
He
other
had the
attributes.
physical tools that you needed to be a quarterback. High IQ.
Yep. Great arm.
Drop back
Yep.
and throw the ball. Like what else do you want from your quarterback?
So he's your
Not
number
everyone
one,
could
then,
be
right?
Lamar Jackson.
So he's your number one.
He's your number one also?
No, I hate that
John?
guy. He's like I put him like number 28 on the list. Behind Ryan Leaf, for sure.
So who's your number one? Michael Jordan?
Athlete overall, I'm gonna go with I
Barry
think
Bonds.
Jordan. I was gonna put Bonds number 2. No, Jordan 1. I wasn't ready for this discussion, so I don't know if I can come up with a list on the fly of my
That's
top
when it's the most
5.
genuine though, and you can't think about it.
Is it?
Yeah, because
Like-
it's just
like-
gut instinct. Go with your gut. Yeah.
Mm.
Go what you
Yeah,
got.
because if you look,
What are we?
Upon
What are
further
you
review,
talking about?
I
Most
changed my-
dominant or just best athlete, like most athletic? Because then it doesn't have to be by
Not
championship.
athletic.
Like the greatest athlete
Most
you've ever
athletic
seen.
is one of those kids that
It's
never
got to be like
like
Bo
played many
Jackson.
minutes and it'd be like most athletic would be like one of those kids that win the dunk competition that nobody ever knows about. They have like the one shining night and that's it. Do like
Aaron
3
Gordon
backflips
type
and a
shit.
dunk.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Nah, has to be Brady. You get interchangeable Brady, Jordan, and whoever else you want to throw in there, right? But those are the top 2. Like regardless,
they're
we're not
not
gonna
in
go down the list.
I wouldn't choose either one of those.
Who's your number one? Mark Sanchez.
Wayne Gretzky.
What'd you just say?
Wayne Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky. Did you watch Gretzky?
Look at his stats. I got to watch him towards the end of his career.
I did too.
Yeah, no, I
Yes,
got
that-
nothing on that. I mean, we're not going down the hockey black hole of this. That's just I
We're not
have
going to
I
go down the
haven't
black
watched.
hole, but let me give you one stat. Give me one stat.
Okay,
Go ahead.
I don't got the exact numbers,
okay,
but in hockey they accumulate points, right? If you score a goal, you get a point. You get an assist, you get a point. Okay.
Yep.
right.
He has more assists than anybody has points in the history of hockey. That's so
Is that
you
a
don't
real
even count
stat?
his
Okay, so
goals. Yes.
Because he was
Yes,
a
it
He
is.
dominated
he was
that much that he has more assists than anybody has points altogether, ever. Nobody dominated a team sport like Wayne Gretzky, and he has
How
4
come he
chips.
never gets? You think because the sport isn't that
'Cause
popular, that's why
nobody
it
gives
doesn't
a
get
fuck
thrown in? Yeah, nobody gives a fuck about hockey because I don't give
That's
a fuck
right.
about hockey.
I love hockey.
All right, man. Let's move on to the next. Obviously, look, man. We got
Really?
one co-host on here that cares about it. So, John, man, I know you're boo. First of all, I'm a big fan of Rafael Nadal because he's a Madrid fan. so a la Madrid. That's literally all I know about him. And I think he's like
Okay.
really good on clay, right? Like
Not gonna
that's,
lie,
And good
Yeah,
on
like
clay. He's won like nine French Opens. It's a thing to say he's good on clay. I have no idea what the hell it means.
that's it. That's my analysis,
But he's
son.
great
That's,
on clay.
that's my Jeff Garcia analysis right there. That's
let me tell you
what else
something.
you
That
want from
sounded
me.
amazing to me because I know nothing about tennis. So that sounded like I was like, oh shit, Ben knows what the fuck he's talking about.
It sounded like he knew what he was talking about. He's good on
That's
clay.
it.
Sounded legit.
That's
So what
it.
does that mean? I don't know.
Uh,
I mean, if you
fucking
ask Ben
mind
for
you, huh?
details, he's gonna tell he makes clay pots. He's great with clay. I don't know. No, but in
Give me
Spain,
all of the above. All
they
of the
play
above.
on clay courts, and that's what the Spaniard players are usually better on clay courts, and the French Open is on a clay court, so that's why he's won 8, 9 of them. He's won. I think he's like 9 out of 10. He lost one final that he went to. But he just won the Australian Open, which it might be the second time he's won it, but I could be wrong. I think it might be the first time he's won the Australian Open.
That's not on
It's the
clay.
one, and it's not on clay. It's a hard surface. That's great. I'm glad you brought that up. Great point. Ben almost spit his whatever he's drinking on his mic.
That was almost a fucking spit take, bro. I almost covered my whole shit.
That would have been great. It is not
Great
on clay.
analysis, Danny.
It's the surface he's had the most difficulty on, and I don't think he's won there before. I think he's finished second a few times, and this would make it his 21st Grand Slam, which he was tied with, I believe, Federer and the Joker. For I think they all had 20
That was
apiece.
just Joker.
Djokovic.
Oh,
I could be wrong.
Joker?
I think Djokovic has 19. Yeah.
Yeah, that's his nickname. Yeah, that's his nickname.
who's better, Federer or Nadal?
Who's better?
I mean,
I
Federer.
know that's the running debate, right?
Federer. Well, no, Djokovic really came on
Late though.
later on because they had a rivalry going on before Djokovic came on the scene. And
Yeah, no,
Federer,
I mean, the little I know about hockey, I've always heard about Nadal and Federer. And this kid came up whenever.
Federer is like the Brady of tennis. He's about 78 years old, still playing. I mean, he might have retired this year, but I think he's still playing. Dude is past his prime, and he was still winning Grand Slams. But I was a fan of Nadal. You know, if you put the Swiss dude against the Spanish dude, I'm going to support the Spanish side. I'm biased, so that's who I'm going to be a fan of. And then I found out later on that he had this thing called Mueller-Weiss syndrome. So it's like a degenerative midfoot disease where he's got constant foot pain, which explains why if you see a picture of him now recently, he looks gaunt. He looks like a freaking skeleton. Nadal 20 years ago was this dude who had he didn't look like a tennis player, carried too much muscle for that sport.
Yeah, he was jacked.
And you go the way you play, how he played, going from sideline to sideline and just cutting back and forth, the amount of pressure and stress you're putting on your joints has got to be ridiculous without that extra muscle that he was carrying. And then the fact that he had that degenerative disease and all that stuff kind of makes me think of the what if. I maybe he could have been greater. Maybe he could have had more Grand Slams. He had to take years off at a time. He'd miss entire seasons off because of those foot injuries, or I think overuse injuries as well, because he was just carrying too much weight. So he doesn't look the same. No, I swear I thought he was a cancer patient when I saw him in the Australian Open. He looks so skinny. He's lost a lot of weight, not because he's ill, but because he had to lose some of that weight because of that extra muscle mass he carried. But Djokovic also didn't play in the Australian Open because he refused to get vaccinated.
He got deported from Australia.
That was a wonderful story, but it takes a little luster, I think, just a bit from his championship, just a little bit. But I mean, the guy still had 20 Grand Slams before that. He had to face Federer. He had to face Djokovic before, and I think it takes a little away from it, but at the end of the day, it's still 21 Grand Slams. And
love is a score in tennis, right?
It is. Doesn't mean it means zero. Yeah, love is a score. That's great analysis.
That's not clay court.
Doesn't mean anything.
Love is a score. Love is a score on tennis.
He is I
Just-
would say Nadal's the least. He's not as well rounded as the other guys. The other players have won. Those top two guys have won more in different types of surfaces, whereas Nadal has like 9, maybe even 10 French Open titles. So the majority of his championships have been on that one type of surface, the French Open.
We used to go out when I was younger. I used to go out with my father a lot. So when they had the U.S. Open, is it the U.S. Open that's in New York?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Flushing Meadows.
And I used to go out there a lot. Like obviously, I never went inside to watch it because that's expensive. But it was in the I forget where it was exactly, but there was like a park or something next to it. So we would always go when that was happening. And we'd hang out around there. So I always knew about Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi and stuff. Never actually got into the sport, but I was always in that area when the U.S. Open would come. So I know it was a big deal because that shit was always packed when we were there.
Yeah.
But never got into it.
Rich white people.
Interesting. Yeah.
Whoever has
It's a-
money to get into those matches, they're expensive.
It's a rich person
Yeah.
sport for sure. Just like golf.
I got into it because I took lessons in like 7th and 8th grade in Springs, and that's how I got exposed to the sport.
I practiced playing that for a couple of weeks, and I didn't like it because I felt like I was just using one arm way too much. So I thought it was kind of weird. Like my right arm was just like sore, and my left arm was just chilling.
Yeah, your forehand.
Unless you
was
use
your
a
forehand and your backhand, right?
yeah.
Oh shit, that's two.
Great, man. That's 2 points of
Son,
analysis
that's
right
two,
there. You
boy.
guys are on fire.
All I got is love. I don't know. That's all I got.
No, I just wanted to bring it up. I know you don't know anything about tennis, just like Ben knows nothing about hockey.
Mhm.
But I'm glad that he was the first one to get to 21. I don't think that he'll end up with the most. I think at some point Djokovic passes him.
Because he's younger.
Djokovic might
Yeah.
a couple years maybe younger.
Yeah.
And we'll see. But that guy that he played today that he beat, what's his name? Daniil Medvedev, Russian dude.
Mhm.
He's 25 and he's supposed to be the next. He is like the rising star, the next great tennis player of his era. So maybe Djokovic passes him. Who knows?
It's weird, right? Like the one thing I know about tennis, like me thinking about it just off the top of my head, like the men's prime lasts a lot longer than the women's prime, right? Like the women's tennis is usually a younger, more athletic. I mean, like the next girl up is usually younger. For men's tennis, you could be at the top for like 10 years, 10, 12 years, and you'll have like that rival that comes up. But like, you know what I mean? Like you had Sampras Agassi, but Agassi had a bunch of injuries. Then you had Federer come up out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like it's like the next guy up, but like then Federer dominated till Nadal, and then Djokovic came later. So it's always like your prime lasts a lot longer. Where like that next dog comes up while you're still at the top.
Yeah, you
Did
guys go pro when
Agassi
they're
really wear a
16.
hat with a fake ponytail?
Yeah,
That's like a thing.
like a mullet.
He really did
He had a
that? 'Cause
mullet.
I heard about it. But at
It
one
was more
point,
like a
did he go
mullet.
bald and wear a fake ponytail or no?
I don't think so. I know
I
he had
think
a
at some
mullet.
point he had a mullet, and then at some point he shaved it.
Okay, so it wasn't a fake ponytail.
Yeah, no. He had
Okay.
it was thin, so it looked fake. You know what I mean? It kind of looked like one of those fake hats, because it was always a visor.
Yeah.
So it did look fake because it was thin at the back. You know what I mean? But it was never. I don't ever think it was fake. But yeah, man, that shit. Shout out to Nadal, man. Any Madrid fan is somebody I'm a fan of. So shout out to him. This is a weird segue that we're just gonna go right into, because I know we all saw it today and John read up on it recently. This makes me uncomfortable, dude. Like this.
Yeah, that's quite the segue for sure.
Yeah, it's like I don't know how else to go
There
into
is
it.
no,
You know what I
there
mean?
is
Like,
no segue. No.
That wasn't a
There's no
segue. You just said next topic.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a segue now. Well, don't be so technical about the definition of a segue. All right, that's rude. But yeah, man, look, all over social media this morning. Woke up, I don't know, I think like 5 or 6. My dog needed to go out. Twitter was Mason Greenwood. Start going through it. People commenting how he beat up his girlfriend or the girl he's dating or whatever. And then you keep scrolling and you find out that like the girl had posted videos and screen shared a recording that I refused to listen to just because like I don't want that type of energy. But at least I did see some transcription, it being transcribed on Twitter. I mean, it was what do you so before I go in, what was your first reaction like seeing it and then like seeing people's reaction to it? Did you have the oh poor Greenwood wasted his life or yo fuck this guy forever? Because I feel like it's only one or the other, right? As far as social
For
media.
me, first I heard that he had allegedly hit his girl.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I had heard. And when I heard that, I'm not I don't jump to conclusions just because I know that some people that are really shady in this world that try to do harm to other people
Nice.
by falsely accusing and stuff. So I was like, man,
100%.
and after I read everything and saw all the proof out there, obviously this guy's a douchebag. But
Mm-hmm.
there's people that like to do a lot of harm, and I have a hard time when people are like, oh, this celebrity or this athlete raped someone. I'm not saying they can't do it,
Right.
but I put myself in those shoes. Like, dude, you can go out and probably get a slew of other females that would actually willingly do it. Why would you rape someone? And that's always been like something that, like Chris Brown, that just recently got accused. I'm like, maybe, but like, he can get anybody. Like, not anybody, but he can get so many people that are obsessed with him. Why would he go out and
Yep.
rape someone? So again, uh, I just had my doubts. You know, I wanted to see what the facts were, and when they started
Yep.
coming in, they started coming in quick. Transcripts
Mm-hmm.
of the audio and all that other stuff. I was like, okay, yeah, this guy's career's over.
Yeah.
Idiot. He's on top of the world just a couple months ago. You're playing well for Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the
Mm-hmm.
world. You're now teammates with Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the greatest players in the world. So you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
learn from the best. Like, top of the world, and then 4 or 5 months later, idiot. And he's probably been doing this forever.
20
Yeah.
years old.
Probably nothing new. Probably nothing new. So what
No.
I was actually talking about that with my wife, right? Like about the whole like because I mentioned it to her and it was the same kind of reaction. Like, why do people who are that famous and can have name a name a chick on Instagram? You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter when you're at that popularity. But I think it brought me back to the whole Darren Sharper thing. If you remember Darren Sharper, he was a safety for the New Orleans
Yep.
Saints.
Packers.
Yeah, and the New York, yeah, and the Packers. He had a great career, tons of money, fame, all that shit. I think went to jail for the rest of his life for like raping like 26 women or some. I don't remember the exact number. But like raping a bunch of women. He went to jail like 3 years ago. And what it came down to was like sometimes people in those situations, just like it's a position of power, right? Where it's just like a power move for them. Like the Chris Brown thing is, you know what I mean? Neither here nor there. I don't because like it happened 3 years ago. She's suing, so we'll see what happens with that. That's when like it gets weird to me. Like for me, but look, we're three men talking about this shit. Let's keep it. You know what I mean? If you can't, if you're listening to us, know that. If you're watching us, obviously, right? But like that was weird about that, and like just with like the Chris Brown shit when he like beat the shit out of Rihanna. Like once you see the pictures, you know what I mean. Once you see like hearsay is like man, we did something. Like you could let your imagination or you fill in the blanks of like this celebrity couldn't have done that, yada yada yada. But like once you see the video and the split lip and the bruises and the audio, you know what I mean. Then it's just like okay, now it's different. You know what I mean? Like there's too much evidence on social media to be like, oh, she made it up or she's just looking for clout or any of that type of shit.
Well, reports are saying that well, I mean, I don't know how much truth there is to it, but she didn't mean for it to get out. Supposedly her phone was hacked. So I don't know if maybe she had like a friend that knew what was going on. Maybe she went on and posted it for her, trying to help her out or something. But supposedly she didn't want it to get out. So
I
she was ready
mean,
to stay in that abusive relationship forever.
there is that side of it because there's a fighter that we don't mention on this podcast anymore that we banned after his last domestic abuse allegation, and he's been with his fiance. He's been engaged to his fiance for like 12 years,
Yep.
and he was arrested for beating her up recently. But then she like apologized to him. You know what I mean on social media. So like there is that side of it where like where who you're married to is famous, rich and famous, where like they stay, you know what I mean, and you're in a domestic violent relationship where you stay in that. You know what I mean? Like my mom's been a victim of domestic violence. You know what I mean? Like I know, so like you when you're in those moments, yeah, there's a chance unless somebody helps you or pulls you out, shit can get real dark real fast, man. And we're not gonna say his name, so don't. We'll tell you offline who that is because we're not doing it on here. We banned that dude. Like I canceled that dude from being mentioned on this podcast because it just happened too many times. John, what you got, man?
While you guys were talking, I didn't listen to anything you said because multitasking isn't real, and so I chose to listen to the
Very
audio
so is real,
clips.
but okay.
I chose to listen to the audio clips and look at the pictures. Wow. Yeah.
Right.
I'm speechless.
This
I
is
don't know what I
interesting.
can add to the conversation. There's this is cliche. There's two sides to every story. I just don't know what the other side to the story could be.
No, yeah. Once you see what was out there, like that's it. Now, I've never really seen or heard of a story like this with a European soccer player, so I don't know how it's going to go. His career might be over. But if this was in the United States and he was an NFL player, he was a good player, how long
Yeah.
until he's back in the league?
What's the thing that we like to say in America? America loves second
A comeback.
chances and redemption
Yep.
stories and a comeback.
Yep.
Right? That BS line that's the BS line that gets used about all
I don't
these
think everybody
things that happen.
should be given a second chance. Certain things that
I'm just
you shouldn't be given a second
No,
chance
they
for.
should, but
But
that's
in the
what America
NFL, they'll
does.
give it to him.
100%. He's young.
He might
I
he
go
might go to the
the
NFL and become a kicker. Might as well.
son like I get to. I mean, there was a kicker who used to beat up his wife anyway, so it's kind of like a thing they do
Play for the
for the
Giants.
Giants, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
play for the Giants. Like yeah, like it's always weird to me when that happens, right? When somebody does that shit, it's like how somehow he's the victim and he needs to come back from something. But you did this, like you were the violent one. Like, what do you need to come back from? You just need to go to jail and just go ahead and enjoy the rest of your life and do that. Like, it's always weird to me when that happens. Like Dante Stallworth, example I always give, killed somebody on Ocean Drive on the turnpike, like on what was it
MacArthur.
on 95 MacArthur Causeway. The next
Mhm.
year's winning a Super Bowl with the Patriots. Like, that's what the NFL
Was it the
does. Like
following year?
it was literally the following year.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like 10 months to the day or some wild shit.
A good thing for the Giants because that Super Bowl they didn't win. But yeah, I got you.
Yeah. It's just wild, man. So look, we'll wait for more stuff to come out about the Mason Greenwood stuff. I know the last thing he like turned off all his comments on his Instagram and like all that shit.
All
'Cause
his
people were
teammates
like, I guess,
unfollowed him on social media.
yeah, David De Gea did it. So yeah, it's just it's
All
not.
of them.
Oh, son, did you see the one that showed like it was a meme, like a GIF or a GIF, however the fuck you want to call it, where it was like Benjamin Mendy seeing Mason Greenwood in prison. Where he's like that because Benjamin Mendy went to jail for rape.
Did he?
The left back from Manchester City. Yeah, he went to jail for rape.
It's like
Or
the Spider-Man
yes.
meme.
What's wrong with these dudes?
I have no idea, bro. Hey, man, like I said, some people don't like not being in positions of power, and they feel like they need to
They
dominate certain
they feel
people. I
like
don't know.
that nobody should say no to them. That's what it is.
Yeah, entitlement.
It's
Yeah,
like, what do you
100%.
mean no? You know who I
Exactly.
am?
Yeah, and that's a transcript, right? Verbatim. That's almost a transcript.
Yeah.
Like, move your fucking legs over. What do you? No,
Yeah.
I'm doing it. I don't give a fuck if
I
you're
don't
saying
care
it.
what you want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's in the transcript. That's what he said. Some
And you know
wild
what
shit,
pissed me
man.
off? The father's response? But then again, like whatever, man. I'm not one to talk. I just don't. I never want to be in a position like that because
The
father.
father's
I mean,
response
maybe
is he's a father.
way
Like,
too passive from what I saw.
what are you
Like
gonna
they
say as
still
a
love each
parent? That's
other.
tough, right?
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, like what do you like? The thing is, what do you say to the media, right? You have to have that kind of response. But what you say to your son, or who knows what kind of like household he grew up in? You know, like Chris Brown allegedly grew up in a household where his mom was getting beaten up. So that's what he saw as like, you know what I mean? Why he saw it that way. So who knows, man? I don't know.
Well,
It's just
we can go down that rabbit hole too, but
yeah,
there's different points of
Jenny
views
gave
about
me one of
nature
my-
versus nurture.
yeah.
Jenny gave me one of my favorite quotes. I don't know where she heard it. I don't know if she made it up. Maybe somebody else said it. But she said, "Hurt people hurt people."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think
True as
when
fuck.
it's true as fuck. With my perspective with shit like that, like you either go one way or the other, right? Like you make sure to never be like that, and you stay, and you see any signs of it, you completely steer away from, or you repeat that cycle, right? Like I think it goes one way or the other, right? Like you go, okay, these are things that I know would make me upset. I'm gonna get the fuck away from this, or you go, nah, I'm just gonna be like this because this is what I understand love to be. When you're a child, how do you differentiate? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, we don't know his situation. We don't know his thing. I'm just saying about like the Chris Brown thing. All right,
Right.
man. What else? All right, guys.
Hey, do me a
Last
favor.
topic.
Who the hell is Neil Young?
He's a singer songwriter from like the 50s,
And that's our last topic.
and that's how we
Great
start off our
introduction.
last stuff.
But can you name me a song of his? Because
Nah, this is before our
supposedly
time.
he went ahead and said that he doesn't want Spotify to play music as long as Joe Rogan's on there.
Because
But
he's
who's
spreading
playing his
misinformation.
music?
I don't know. All I know is Spotify took a $4 billion hit after they took off Neil Young for, I guess, bad publicity. But that kind of tells you how much money they're making with Rogan, that they made a business decision to keep Joe Rogan on. I got my look. I don't
But
I don't want to go down the road. Nah.
to go up against Joe Rogan, what do you need? You need Spotify. You need Drake to be like, dude, if you don't get rid of Joe Rogan, you can't play my music. Then Spotify might have a decision to make. But I didn't know who Neil Young was until this happened.
Yeah.
And nobody that I've spoken to has been able to name me a song.
That's
Can you
not
name
our
me a song?
generation.
I can't name you a song. I can now that I Googled
Research.
it, right?
Yeah.
But I can tell you that I know who Neil Young was. I know that he's a singer-songwriter, and he's well past his prime of when his music was, 60s and 70s. Probably in the 70s is when he was big. So that I know, but I never went out of my way to listen to his music before the Spotify era, during the Spotify streaming era, and so
CDs,
the way
cassettes.
that Ben introduced it is actually perfect, because he said it was a business decision. 3 days ago or 4 days ago, whenever this whole thing started, I decided to go look for the threads in Twitter to find out what was going on. And I decided, I just like tweeted something, hey, sorry for your luck, Neil, but I'm pretty sure that you against Joe Rogan, Spotify is gonna choose Joe each and every time. And then people that are supporters of Neil Young started attacking me because they thought I was attacking Neil Young. And I was like, hey, nothing against Neil Young. But Spotify has faced this already for the last year with Joe Rogan. People
should have
coming.
directed them to the podcast.
Hey,
like,
I'm trying to.
You'll get my explanation when you see the podcast.
I'm trying to, but that's why I interact with people on other threads instead of Ben, who just posts on his own Twitter that no one's gonna see.
I'm still trying to figure it out, man.
For a different time. But I got into it, and people are just saying like, Neil Young is great. Screw Joe Rogan. Spotify doesn't know what they're doing, and I was like, that's not the point I'm making. What I'm saying is, it's a business decision. Joe Rogan signed $100 million deal that we know of, and every time that it's come up, this issue with Rogan and his potential misinformation or topics that we shouldn't allow, Spotify has sided with Joe Rogan, which is this big guy that they signed just in the last year, and so it's not going to change with Neil. Nope. And I'm like, it's not going to change with Neil. And what happens 2 or 3 days later? They pull his music from Spotify. So it wasn't an attack on Neil. It's just like look at the times. Spotify's going to make a business decision. They're making more money keeping him on than removing him. So
that was so ridiculous. When I saw that, I was like, what an idiot.
Yeah, it would have to be somebody like Drake.
Sense. Yeah, Drake, somebody big, somebody that they care about losing. Right now,
recently,
to lose. Drake, maybe Kanye, even though I feel like his music sucks, but apparently he's still popular. I don't know. Like, it's got like a really big name. You're like, damn. But then again, Drake doesn't want to take the chance, even though he might win. He doesn't want to take the chance of losing out on Spotify.
Because you're losing out on money. I'm sure there's like crossover fans, people who like Rogan who like Drake, right? I'm assuming like that's nobody that's why it's easier for Neil Young to have that stance though, because I don't know any current like artists that are huge that are like an Ed Sheeran, you know what I mean? Like name like Adele, Beyonce, anybody like that. I don't know if any of those type of artists that are modern, right? Modern would take that kind of stance because there's money to be made.
Everybody's about the money.
Neil Young is 76 years old. This is not to say that his music wasn't great. I didn't listen to it, but his fans.
I'll say it.
Think about who you listen to, right? You grew up listening to people that are already
music. I never heard about that guy.
Stevie Nicks.
Jesus, this guy
Stevie
doesn't
Nicks
want to
came
hear
out.
it. He doesn't want to hear about anything. He's like, I know Cyndi Lauper, but Neil Young, I don't know anything about Neil Young.
Aretha
Stevie Nicks.
But the
Franklin, the
truth is that he's
Temptations, Elvis, the Beatles.
That was just
all right. There you go.
okay.
Bill
Yeah.
Withers.
Bill Withers.
People
Yeah, what
know
you know
some
about
Bill
Will?
Withers.
People Bryson. What you know about?
Oh
You know
my
what I mean?
God, you don't know about. All right.
Joe Cocker.
Anyway,
I mean, listen, but it is Joe Cocker was white, dude. I had no idea who Joe Cocker was. White. Legitimately, till like I saw some performance like this motherfucker was white because he sounds black as shit. But yeah, Neil Young was gonna lose that one 100% of the time, regardless of how much I disagree with the lane that Rogan went down when he moved to Texas. Like
right.
it was easy to like. It's the #1 podcast in the world, man. It's 100 million like hundreds of millions of downloads each month. All the people that follow him, you know what I mean? Like it's too big. Like it's the #1 show really on. It's 5 days a
Do
week.
you think that he's really spreading lies? I don't listen to that show. I'm not a big Joe Rogan fan, but he really wanted it to stop because he's spreading COVID-19 lies.
Yeah, I mean he is.
Here's what I think is going on. The Rogan show, it's not that he's spreading lies, is that before, when I used to listen and watch the show,
Yep.
there were conversations being had back and forths like we're doing right now. And over the last year or so, he said a lot more people, definitely a lot more people that are just agreeing with his point of view. But he also just kind of tosses some softball questions and then he lets them go on for 30 minutes at a time.
Unchallenged, like
And
you know what I mean?
unchallenged, and then he just lets them talk, and he doesn't, and he won't say like I agree, or sometimes he'll be like, "Are you sure? Is that right?" But what people have, so he's not himself saying this stuff is fake. I mean, in some cases, Rogan is going out there and saying, "Yeah, this is like the whole ivermectin thing, like or the whole don't get vaccinated thing."
No.
He went out ahead and said that, "Hey, if you're young, I don't think you should." Again, that's not medical
agree.
advice. In his opinion, if you're young, I don't think you should. But so
I
he
agree.
has all these other so-called experts that have been deplatformed. Some of them are no longer on Twitter or any other place, and he has them on his show. And then they talk about their point of view, and so that's why people are saying that he's spreading lies because he's just bringing these people on that don't have a platform. They come on Joe Rogan's platform, and then they give their point of view, and they have their
To a lot of
quote
people.
unquote discussion.
Yeah,
And
to
he's
hundreds
got
of millions of people,
millions of listeners. Even people that aren't Rogan fans will tune in possibly when they're looking for podcasts and listen to some of that stuff. So that's the problem that people have. He has a big platform, and people that don't have a platform with controversial views are speaking their mind. So
We're gonna say that.
Makes sense.
Yeah, like
No, I've never
a
listened
couple-
to the show. Never have I cared about watching that show. I think the guy's not funny.
No,
He
he's
used to be on a show called Radio, I think it was, and
news
I thought he
radio.
was one of the thought he was one of the worst characters on the show. Like I've never liked that guy. I don't know why everybody's obsessed with him.
Well, the reason why I'll tell you like this. Look, I'll say this. Like this podcast was inspired. Like the reason why we started a podcast was because of Rogan, because what Rogan used to be was an intellectually curious person, right? Like he would have people on,
right,
and he would be almost a student, right? Where like he was like, oh, okay, he'll have Neil deGrasse Tyson and like all these different people, you know what I mean, to learn about different shit that he was curious about. And once he moved to Texas, he became the author, right? Like where he became like, oh my, I want to have people to like echo my point of view. So like I wouldn't listen to Rogan to listen to Rogan. I would listen to Rogan to listen to the people he had on. Like I would, yeah. So
Right.
his guests, because like he's having people on that are interesting, right? And I was like, oh man, I want to learn. I want to hear about Neil deGrasse Tyson, or I want to learn more about Kamaru Usman, or you know what I mean, like different. He's had 2,000 podcasts at this point, so you can't go. You could go through them, but like once that happened, where like he's just having an echo chamber, it was like having the same podcast over and over, right? Where like if he's a person that can have doctors on, right? Like real like epidemiologists and people that like to explain the shit, which he did have on when he was in California. And he was super pro-vaccine. Oh, why wouldn't anybody get the vaccine and all that shit? Moves to Texas, questions everything, only has people who question the vaccine, question Matt, all that shit. Like California, different Rogan.
You never had somebody from the left on the show?
He did, right? He has, but not as much. Yeah. Not recently, where he's having only right-wing people or people that agree with his point of view. He had like this Australian reporter that challenged him on his COVID stuff, and he was like so sure, and then like they Googled it right then and there, and it showed Rogan was wrong. He's like, well, when I saw it back in August, it said this. So he was like, oh, then he's like, he started questioning the thing that he was just seeing that questioned him. You know what I mean, so he got like on like because they do it live just like we do, right? Like there's no editing, they post it, and then Rogan even had to go out and be like, oh no, I was wrong. But then what he shared on his Twitter was a thing that he was wrong about, sharing the same one that he was wrong about back in August. Wasn't one like the new information that he got that was like, oh shit, I was wrong about this. This is what it should be. It was like, see, but this is what I saw back in August. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So like, and the thing, and the argument that he had with the guy, I think his name was like Josh Zepps. The argument that he had with the guy was about younger people not having less issues with the COVID vaccine than they would with COVID, like the long term like heart issues or whatever the fuck it was. And like Rogan was wrong, and like Rogan shared how Rogan was wrong, the link to Rogan being wrong, not the new information that Josh Zepps was like, nah man, you're wrong, and this is what you shouldn't be sharing. So like he has people like that. You know what I mean? So it's like it became different. So that's the misinformation that he's doing, where like it's just an echo chamber of shit that he's saying the same shit to himself. Right? Like he's not having other doctors.
Somebody would
Go ahead.
I wish somebody would start a podcast where they're right down the middle, like where like if they weren't left or right. Like if I had a podcast where I could just
That's what Rogan
challenge
used to be.
people to both sides, I'd have the left and the right. You remember that,
Right.
the thing they used to do like in middle school, left nut, right nut, dick in the middle? I'd call my podcast Dick in the Middle. Like that would be
Right.
the name of my podcast. And I would just
Right.
have people from the left and from the right and just challenge both of them. Because I feel like
Right, that's what
you can agree with both sides. Like I don't understand why everybody has to stick to one side. So fucking
that's what Rogan
hardcore.
That's the thing though. That's what made Rogan so popular, because that's what Rogan used to be. Rogan one day would have Dan Crenshaw, which is like a Republican congressman, and the next day had Bernie Sanders when he was running for president. You know what I mean? Like
There you
that's
go.
what Rogan did. But now Rogan doesn't do that. Rogan has these people who are Alex
But I feel like
Jones.
he's so tied to the right now.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gone so far that was like, and again, he's if he was having those conversations with doctors, like he's having those conversations with doctors, like other or comedians, other people that really don't know shit, that like read 2 or 3 articles and now are like the masters of all they survey. So it's weird, and that's the problem Neil Young had with it, which I understand his issue with it, but he was never going to win that debate. Like Rogan is
Right.
too huge. Rogan gets covered by CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, as if he's something to cite. When
Yep.
Rogan at the beginning was just like he would self-describe himself as like a dumb ape, but now he thinks of himself as an intellectual, which makes it problematic for me.
Yeah. And Neil Young is not relevant.
Yes,
I'm sure that his music inspired a lot of people and a lot of musicians, but in this day and age, he's not relevant. I think the point he brings up is relevant, right? But like Danny said, you have to be someone like Drake, someone that has some kind of pull, some kind of popular artist
To
that
go against
says,
Joe
I'm
Rogan, for sure.
yeah, exactly. Because as a Neil Young, how many plays is his music getting? Spotify looks at immediately when Neil Young does that, they just look at their stats and they say, "Oh no, we'll drop Neil Young. I don't care. we'll
Yeah.
we'll take the hit in our stock dropping,
Yeah.
and then it'll recover in a couple of weeks because everyone will forget about it."
Yeah.
100%.
yeah, that $4 billion meant nothing. Like that's how much money Spotify is making on Rogan. They could lose $4 billion a day, and we're like, nah, we'll be fine.
That's how much
Like
your
other
stock
people-
went up when they signed him 2 years ago, right? 4 billion
Yeah,
overnight.
no, 8.
because
I think I went
8 billion.
8 billion. So they're good.
But
They're in the positive,
Spotify
man.
has to be careful though, because they don't want to be viewed as being tied to the right, because the left runs the music and all those industries. So if they start getting tied to just the right, like don't be surprised if all of a sudden they have a new podcast with like Bernie Sanders on it. Like they're not
Well,
stupid.
no.
They're gonna figure out how to please both sides.
Yeah, they got to figure, because it's money, right? Like you don't just try to take half the money, you try to take all of it, and that's the again, like, because Neil Young isn't a sacrifice, and it's not hurting them in any way, because like the 17 people or however many people listen to Neil Young, you know what I mean?
How many
isn't
people
gonna
wrote back
be
to you, John?
What's that?
How many people wrote back to you?
There was one guy actually who was a radio host in Colorado, and you think about Colorado, and I think John Denver, even though he's not from Colorado, I'm like, this dude is definitely a Neil Young fan. He's an
John
older
Denver,
dude.
just because of the
he's
last
an-
name.
Yeah, he's an a. It was an older guy in Colorado, I believe, and he was like an AM DJ, right, or host for a show for the radio station, and yeah, again, like one of his last messages was, I don't know if I misread you, and then he gave me his his information or his comment about like why he sides with Neil Young, and I just responded to, yeah, no problem. Meaning I wasn't attacking Neil Young. I'm just telling you what's going to happen based on statistics and based on
I'll attack
historical decisions that Spotify has made. They're going to side with Joe Rogan. It's not that Neil Young's music is trash or that he's not correct. Is that he's not Drake. He's not Jay-Z. He's not someone who has pull taking a stand. For them, Neil Young he's inconsequential.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like one of those like 12 players on the NBA bench. It's like, hey, if this vaccine shit doesn't change, I'm retiring. NBA's
All
like,
right.
The 12
Okay.
man on the bench.
all right.
All right, we're gonna miss you, bro. All right, take care, man.
Yeah.
G League, what up? You got somebody down
G-
there?
Exactly.
Hey,
We got an
Hey,
opening.
can we get John Crotty on the team?
Shit. That's out of here. Marty
Ridiculous.
Conlin out here. Who
It's,
cares?
it's one of those city stadiums. Somebody that has no pull. That's a pull power move.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense. I see what it was trying to do, but it was gonna be a failure regardless. All right, guys, I got nothing else. Y'all got something else for the people?
No. Rams and Niners tied in the fourth quarter, so that should be a cool finish.
All right,
That's about
we'll
it.
watch that, and we probably won't talk about it on Wednesday's show because it'll be too
Oh,
late.
what about Brock and Ronda coming back?
Nobody
No
cares,
love for
bro.
Brock and Ronda?
No, Brock came back 8 months ago. Let it go. This isn't.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah. He had the short hair, then he had the long hair, and now he's a fucking cowboy. We all
Yeah,
good
he
over
looked kind
here.
of weird. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little strange, bro. He's like trying just be a dick. That's all Brock needs
No,
to do. Just be
but
the
I
bad
mean,
guy.
I'm still terrified of the man.
Oh no, 100%. Listen, I'll say this on here.
Look,
If he sees me ever say it, I will apologize on every podcast for the rest of my life. That man is terrifying.
oh, for sure. If he smacks Jenny, I'm gonna be look at Jenny. Like, you just got snapped because I'm not
Yeah,
doing shit
exactly.
about it. I'm not doing shit about
I'm
it.
a
I
witness.
saw what he did to
I'm
your
just-
face. Imagine what he was doing to
Yeah.
mine.
Exactly. Shit, I was a witness. I was there. I tell somebody what happened. I ain't doing
That's
shit.
it.
John, you got anything else, brother?
Yeah, one thing. There's a series on Netflix I've been telling you two fools about. It's called Home
For
Game.
sure, it's international, and I need to fucking put subtitles for sure. Right?
Fine, watch it with subtitles. It is because it's
I
called
knew
Home
it.
Game.
I knew it.
It's called Home Game. Let me
Get
get
some
my
culture.
plug out. Get
Yeah,
some
yeah.
culture. It's called Home Game, and it's 6 or 7 episodes about different games or sports that are country or region specific. And one of the episodes is called Calcio Storico. It's something that's played in Florence, and it's a mixture of sort of like MMA and football. You got to
Rugby or
watch it.
some
These
shit?
people, they played every year. They played it since 1530, and they play 2 matches a year, a semifinal and a final. It's 4 regions in Florence, and so it is so brutal that the tournament is 4 teams, and it's 2 games. The semis or
Well,
3
yeah.
games. 2.
God damn.
Yeah, because and the players that play in the semis usually don't play in the final because it's 9 days later and people have like broken bones.
Okay.
Just watch
You
it.
sold
How
me. You sold me.
historical.
You sold me.
I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm in.
you sold
I'm
me.
in. I'm in.
They're monsters, and it's 23 minutes, and it's
I'll watch it.
Look,
I
I
love
will-
my UFC. I love my UFC, and I love
I'm not a
gladiators.
fan of UFC, but that sounds interesting.
I love gladiators, and these guys are doing it in this essentially what looks like a gladiator arena.
I
And it's
will
in
say
Italy.
this. I will say this about John. The man, every show he's ever recommended to me has been good. He has not failed me yet. So if he's recommending it, definitely check it out. I'll check it out after this. After we finish watching The Rescue on Disney Plus about the soccer
You guys
team
aren't
that
watching
got
Ozark?
trapped. Nah, not watching Ozark. I
That's
stopped
a
watching
great
like
show.
season 2, season 3, or some shit.
Really?
Season 2, I think. Yeah, I don't know why. I just got caught up with other shit, but it's up there. At some point, we'll watch it. We have to
You
watch
don't
The
the
read
people don't want to hear
subtitles.
this, Ben. Can you just cut the show? The people don't want to hear that you.
Yeah, we
ramble
out,
on
man.
about
We out.
the
We're
show
talking
you-
about this offline. Yeah.